Hello everyone, welcome to the Peaceful Palette Art Lesson Series. I am Noelle Rollins. Today we are going to work on drawing an eye in colored pencil. So we have this basic 12 pack of Crayola colored pencils that I just picked up in the school supplies section. I am going to use the eye from a previous week that we drew and shaded. So you can just see here, this one is from earlier in week 1. So what I'm going to do is go through and I'll show you each pencil before I use it. I'm going to go through here and start outlining with this black. And as always, I always like to start with the darkest parts of the feature first. Typically on the eye, that's going to be where the lash shadows over the iris there, filling in the pupil. And then I'm doing really slight zigzags outward, kind of to have that sun array effect. And now I'm just kind of going to, on this eye, she has some deeper colors around the edges. So just capturing that with the black. Next, we'll grab the brown colored pencil from our pack. And let's go in and just add some color to that crease. We're going to kind of, I'm not pushing very hard with the colored pencil. We're going to add an edging to where the lid goes from like the lash line into more of the softer tissue in the inner lash. And I'm just lightly, I would say medium pressure, pushing here to start establishing where some of the deeper tones are going to be. So we're going to outline that tear duct area of the eye. And now really lightly, I'm just filling in. I do not want to press hard here, or that colored pencil will just get so waxy that we won't be able to apply any other color over it. Once you kind of press down too hard, you ruin the tooth of the paper, and it's really hard then to get other colors to adhere to the paper. So that's why less is more often with colored pencils. If you need to, you could pause this video right here and go ahead and draw an eye if you haven't yet. If you're just watching, now's the time. Pause, catch up. It doesn't matter if the eye is exact. It's more just the point of learning the process of shading. And as you can see, the exact order and pencil strokes that I use to get this eye. So now very lightly, as you can see, I'm filling in. I try to go with the curve of the eyelid. So for me, that's almost like a rainbow shape where I'm going up and around. So I'm showing you right here like the different hardness, where when it's light, medium, or dark pressure. And you can see I'm doing the lightest one here where I'm barely touching the pencil to the paper. So just very lightly getting that on. This woman that we're drawing has beautiful brown skin, and so it's fun to see the colors and layering to make up her skin tone. And different skin tones will have, some have more of an olive reflection within them or coloring, some have more of a red tone. There's no one size fits all, but you'll generally get the idea where you can come back then and work on this on your own. So now I have the entire upper and lower lids lightly colored. And now coming here with the purple. Actually, this is not purple, it's blue. Sorry, grab the blue. What this is going to do is it's creating the illusion. Often in artwork, white is not really white. It's like layers of grays and blues or other colors, just very soft. And in order to have the highlights actually be highlights, which is paper color, we need to give a warmer color to the rest of the whites on the page. So the white of the eye here, we're just giving a subtle coloring to where when the viewer sees it, they'll still see it as white, but it has a little shading within it that also to show the round shape of the eyeball. And so now the lightest touch I can possibly do, I'm going in here and I'm filling in behind where the eyebrows will be. I'm doing the upper brow and the eyelid, going in the same direction as I did with the brown for this, which doesn't necessarily matter. See, I come in here and crisscross. You just want to be aware of when you don't want to push too hard in opposite directions where you start to get the scribble look. I know that at the end of this drawing, I'm going to come in with mineral spirits, and you can use rubbing alcohol or mineral spirits to achieve what I'm going to show you at the end of this. So I want to generally assume that all of my pencil strokes are going to show up, but I know that a little bit of those will be blended together in the end. So here I decided I'm going to start actually filling in the colored pencil blocks up there so you can see what colors I've used in the order I've used them. So we'll go back here and fill in the earlier colors. And then we're going to do a layer of yellow over all of the skin area. And it's just slow and steady. Let this be just relaxing. It's very light. Like when you're a kid and you're coloring in a coloring book, you already have the lines here somewhat drawn. So now you get to just enjoy yourself and meditatively just focus on one part at a time. Just very lightly, just filling in, somewhat changing the direction of my pencil as I go. The bigger the eye that you draw, of course, the longer this will take. So part of the key while doing these lessons might be to not draw super huge eyeballs or features where it'll just take longer to fill in. You can just practice and get to the point with a little bit smaller features. Now I'm pressing just a little harder, as you can see, to start showing some of the deeper tones there. One of the advantages of, you can grab your orange pencil now. One of the advantages of larger drawings, if you ever decide to go more in this, is that you can just get so much detail. But at first you end up just spending a lot of time without a lot of result. When you're learning, it's just better to practice and just keep on working through the different colors and combinations. Learning which way to hold your pencil and how much pressure to put at different points is something you'll just start to naturally do without thinking about it too much. But at the beginning, it's very normal to take time and have to consciously decide each thing. And it's a lot of trial and error. So what I love here is you can already start to see as we're filling in more and more of that saturated skin tone, is if you remember how we put blue on the eyeball, it already isn't looking blue. In contrast to the deep, rich skin tones, your eye just knows that it's white. So now I've switched to more of the circular filling in as I'm pushing a little bit harder with the pencil to start to get more saturation on the paper. I'm trying to do a little bit more organic pencil strokes in the way. Just as they start to show more, I want to make sure that they are going to work for the final image. So now I'm laying a base of color underneath where these dark lashes will be, so I can push a little bit harder down here. And also, don't ever be afraid to change the paper direction. If you're drawing on a table, you can rotate the paper around to whatever way works best for you to do the right angle of the pencil stroke. I have mine taped to a board, so it gets a little awkward sometimes. I'm doing the darker of the reds now. We're going to really lightly start filling in some of the blood vessels in the eye, the tear duct area. I'm pushing a little harder on just a couple spots there. You can see to kind of imply, and then the rest is very light. Really give me a pink look to the inner lower lid. And then we're going to start layering red into the skin tone. I'm just doing light circular strokes. And so all of these colors are slowly going to build up to a beautiful brown. Often when we are just learning, we would just grab the brown and we would just press harder. And that's fine too, but what I wanted to show in this video is how to get that deeper color that has just a richness to it, where you can just feel layers within it, and it just starts to give that more professional look to it. It's fun too, once you start to learn some of these techniques of just layering, even going back and coloring in coloring books, you start to realize, oh, I could do that with crayons too, and I can really start to layer and just build the color up in really soft, light layers. So I'm deliberately keeping the eyebrow area a slightly different color as I work here, just for my own eye, so that when it comes time, go ahead and grab your brown pencil. When it comes time to fill that in with the actual eyebrow hairs, that I haven't lost the shape of it. To keep it easy on myself here, I'm just kind of keeping it a little bit different looking. It'll be covered almost completely by individual hairs, but so here I am now coming in with the brown. We're just going to start with a medium pressure, layering in a richer color. You can still see those other colors showing through, but I am pressing a little bit harder, not full pressure, just to start really giving that beautiful brown tone. We'll go in and do the iris, kind of doing those sun ray strokes from the middle and then filling in. If you have mineral spirits or rubbing alcohol, it's not going to matter what way you do the brush stroke or the pencil strokes on this part. You can just fill it in. That's fine with like a medium pressure. So already you can see that this eye is starting to look more and more lifelike. I was just coming in with the black there and just going in and darkening a few of these areas now that we've made them more saturated with color. It's I think a fun part when you can just start to define again and again. So notice on that lash line, on the outer part, you can see up into the under where the eyelashes come out. That's intentional. Just like on the lower lid there where you see kind of a part where the skin has the eyelashes and then turns and is more of the softer inner lid part. So I would not be pushing this dark on these colors if this was a lighter skin tone. We would be using brown to achieve this look. But because the overall skin tone is darker, we need to use the darker colors to imply shading and the folds in the skin. So I'm back here with the red again, another layer. So these are really light pencil strokes. Just filling that in one more time with the red. And you can experiment with this as well on what works for you. Kind of see what it looks like if you do more green versus red, if you do more yellow versus blue. So now I'm coming in with the yellow. If I were to finish right now, this would be too yellow, but that's why you just have to trust the process and you just keep coming in with more and more color. And this is how I do it. If I am doing a whole face, I will try to choose a part where it's a natural ending, like on the right side here where the bridge of the nose will start. The eyebrow, if there's glasses, sometimes I'll just do the part within the glass lens just to make it easy on you. And then I also keep the colored pencils in front of me, and as I use them, I set them back down in front of me so that I can stay consistent with what colors I've used. I have hundreds of colored pencils, and I keep them in the cups for the most part until I've used them, just to keep it simple on myself. So now I'm coming in with the lighter red. We're going to do a few broken little blood vessels. I'm doing this with very light pressure. Hardly noticeable, but just those subtle things sometimes are what I love the most. It implies that there's a lot more detail than there is. All right, introducing the green pencil for the first time. I'm going to use the darker green. So green and red are opposite on the color wheel. And so when we come in and add green on top of the reds, it can be the perfect look for shading and shadows. So we want to do this anywhere where we need to achieve a darker tone because it'll balance that red out and shade it. So now you can see I pushed a little bit harder there to imply a lower lid crease. You can pause this if you need to. I went pretty fast there and just catch up. I'm coming back in with brown now, and I'm going to again do another layer with a little bit more pressure where I'm filling in. Now that I have established that crease, I'm filling in a little bit deeper there. Before we ever put mineral spirits or rubbing alcohol on our paper, we need to make sure there's no paper showing through on anywhere that we're going to touch with either of those products. So I am going through here again and just making sure that the colored pencil is saturated through, that there is no paper left showing. I'm adding a deeper color to where the brow will be. All of this with medium pressure. So you can see that it's implied that there's a little bit of a rounded part of the lid there, that kind of right where I'm working now, and then it creases inward again. Same thing with this upper lid. The more intense we go, it just shows that there's a crease there. So now just filling in, implying a slight roundedness with my pencil strokes there. So we've gone through almost all the colors so far, not quite, but just the general rainbow colors. Now I'm coming back in with the blue. And blue is going to balance out the orange colors. So then that will start to give that shadowed look. So we don't always have to use black to shade. We can come in with opposite colors and use that to trick the eye. So now we've really built this up into a beautiful, rich eye color. So this is fine if you wanted to leave this here. But I'm going to show you what happens when I put some mineral spirits on a cotton swab. I'm going to dip it in there and I'm going to rub off the extra so I don't have too much. And I'm going to start right by the eye, avoiding touching anywhere where there's paper exposed. I'm going to do that crease and then I'm going to work my way out. I rolled the cotton swab there to get a cleaner part. And I'm doing this with the kind of flow of the angles, kind of rounding out my touch as I go here. And what I love about this is it starts to have that feeling of all of the creases in the skin, the natural implied lines are still there, but it's just filled in with this beautiful saturated tone. And again, staying in line. So I'm just showing how much my cotton swab has picked up there. I'm going to get another one here, dip it, and then start again. Just barely touching that inner part where the tear duct is. And just blending, blending, blending. Now, all of the colors that I built up on the skin, I could have gone through and built up with more time on the actual iris of the eye. Instead, I chose to just kind of keep it simple and just do straight brown. But you can see the difference in, if you look there before I added the yellow, you could see the difference in the flat brown versus the brown with all of the different tones to it. How some of the greens and the yellows and the oranges and reds pop through in different parts. So now I'm just really quickly filling in with a variety of the colors here to build up that same tone on the eyeball, the iris. Kind of bring in some orange to just bring back that brown. And I am using more pressure here as I go. And then I'll come back in, and with the brown, I'm doing a little bit more of just really making sure it's saturated. Now, her eye color was pretty deep in the advanced eye one that we're going to do next week. I'm going to show you here how I go in and with many different colors showing all of the lines within the iris. But for this one, we're just kind of keeping it pretty consistently just brown throughout. She just has these beautiful rich brown eyes. And then we're making sure to get all to the edges of the color without getting on the white. And then I'm just coming back in now and just double checking my work, see if there's anywhere that I could blend out a little bit more. So I did not touch any of the white of the eye. And so now, once you do this, you're going to want to wait about 15 minutes, especially if you've done rubbing alcohol. What I decided to do, I was just writing below the paper here, but I decided to zoom in for the video, just saying, do not put any of the rubbing alcohol or mineral spirits on the paper. I was kind of just showing what that'll look like, and it basically looks like if you set something greasy on paper and it just saturates it. that's the look. So I grab my white pencil. I am making sure that there's nothing on it. Sometimes I will off to the side draw a little bit with it to make sure, because if I were to jump on here and draw and there was a little speck of another color, it would smear right into the eye. But I'm using hard pressure here. And what that's doing is that's going to smear those colors in and give a similar look to what the mineral spirits did. And this is something we can do as the rest of the eye is now drying a little bit, and I'm pressing very hard and I'm blurring that together. It's not obvious on the video here, but in person you'll see that it just has that same thing where some of the paper tooth disappears. Isn't it so fun to just see how, like, when you trust the process, if you go back and look at the earlier parts of this video and you're like, there's no way that that's going to end up looking at all realistic. And yet here we are. So now I have a black colored pencil and I'm using a lot of pressure. And I'm just doing these, I would say I'm using 70% pressure for these under hairs to just fill in some of the background eyebrow hairs. And I like to start inward and work towards the outer part of the face. I am not going all the same direction. Kind of crisscrossing as we go here. Doing a few. For the most part, the hairs will kind of curve a little bit. You start with more pressure, like at the root of the hair, and you lighten up as you go with each pencil stroke. We worked on this a lot more in the drawing videos and shading videos, so if you need extra help, go back and watch those earlier. And they're all on this playlist, so you can go back and reference any video you need. So with the mineral spirits, you're going to have to wait a little bit, but you can get away with coming in here while everything's just still a little bit wet. And it softens up your pencil even more as well, because that mineral spirits breaks that wax down as it touches. If you did rubbing alcohol, you're going to have to wait till it's completely dry, and then you can come in and do these touches. And it's about 15 minutes normally. So there we have it. Pretty much finished up here. We just have the final touches to do, but you can see now everything's dry. We have some eyebrows in there. We have the creases. I'm sharpening my pencil, and I'm going to go in with a very careful hand. I'm doing a few of these smaller eyelashes first, and I'm just working from the lash down. And we talked about this more in this drawing video. As we work towards the outside of the eye, those lashes will look more how you expect, where they go up and out. And we do them at a little bit different angles here. So they'll crisscross a little bit. She just had beautiful long lashes to work with here. So from the middle of the eye outward, we're doing these long lashes at the angle that we'd expect. As we cross the middle of the eye, it starts to be more horizontal. And then I do a few horizontal ones over on the left side as well, just to kind of fill that in and give a shadow. So I'm going to come in and not right next to the white of the eye, but instead at the edge of the lower lid and the inner lower lid on the lash line. I'm going to come in and just do X's and V's. We're going to crisscross a few hairs. They all generally are pointing outward, away from the nose, and then down, but at slightly different angles. And you can pause this video to recreate what I have here. So less is more, as you can see on the top, right above the white of the eye. Just a few lashes really implies. I kind of went in there on the bottom and just did some little tiny dashes and like almost like tally marks to just fill in that lash line a little bit more with a little bit of hairs, hair growth, just the coloration of the lash line. I'm coming back in one more time and I'm going to darken up this pupil. I'm doing the look of like sun rays coming away from the sun, just very light black lines to imply the texture of the iris. And again, if you were doing a lighter colored eye, you wouldn't use black here, but you would be using like a deeper blue or a deeper brown, deeper green, something like that to just show the darker tones of whatever the eye color was. And now I'm just going to come in and do a few of the main hairs with a little bit more intention and then maximum pressure here. Don't rip your paper or anything, but just you want to be very deliberate where you decide to do an eyebrow, hair. And just appreciate that this was done with some basic supplies. The possibilities are endless when we just have patience and allow ourselves to play. There's so many art supplies out there that we can just have really fun results with. So way to go, you guys. We did it. We still have the white of the eye there with the slight coloring in there. And we have a realistic looking eye with just basic 12 colors. So much fun. I sometimes can't stop myself. I just want to come in here and just add a little bit more just saturation, basically. It just brings back a little bit of that color back onto where we did the mineral spirits. Deepens it back up. You are always welcome to send me. If you want to take a snapshot and send me what you drew, I'd love to see it. My email's in the description, or noelle@noellerollinsart.com. It's always fun just as we grow as artists and just experiment. And I just applaud you for stepping outside your comfort zone and really just playing here today. In the next video, we are going to do an advanced colored pencil eye. One that will take, it's a lot longer, and I use a 20-piece portrait professional colored pencil set. I will put in the description of this video where you can buy that if you would like to order it and follow along with us. I paid about $50 for it. Otherwise, you can just watch and enjoy it and see how we build up the color in a very similar way, but with a wider variety of colors. And you'll see the difference in the professional colored pencils and how the saturation is and how they go on different and blend differently. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day and just really feel a calmness within yourself and tapped in to your creativity. All right, bye.